If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Welcome back to 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Dunn. And with me today, we have Aida, who is running for city attorney in 2026 in Los Angeles. I met Aida through Instagram because I saw her commenting on a lot of progressive pages. And anytime somebody is running for office and I can see that in their handle, I click and I want to know what they're about. And we grabbed a coffee and I just really enjoyed her unabashed commitment to the causes that she's been working on for years and years. I'll give you an example. She sent me testimony that she had given against a Chevron plant in El Segundo. And she gave all of these, it's like at a city council, I think, and she gave all of these reasons and the audio shows that she is saying, you know, this is not going to be good for us and is giving warnings based on her research and all of that. And about a month ago, that same Chevron plant in El Segundo exploded. And so I messaged her about that because she had sent me that audio. And I was like, oh, my God, I think like literally it was like years ago. And so that also caused me to be intrigued by how committed she has been to this work. And then on top of that, I had been going to city council, and this is not Aida saying this. I'm saying this, and she is not, this is not her opinion. This is mine. The current city attorney sucks. And I have dealt a lot with her underlings at city council. They don't care. They don't listen. They suck. So I was very interested in what a city attorney actually does and what Aida's plan is for that. So take a listen. Again, this is just my opinion, but she's a really cool activist, and you should know what your city attorney is doing because they have a lot of power.
You told a lot of lies about achievement. They called you when they got you to believe it. Thumb and finger held to their foreheads in an L shape, trapped in a capitalist hellscape. Let's fight back and have some talks about class and the massive cost of the disastrous plots of fascists and Nazis, fat cats and fogs. It's 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast.
Hello and welcome to 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Dunn. And with me today, Aida, do you want to tell my audience who you are and what you do?
Hi, everybody. My name is Aida Ashouri. I'm a public interest attorney and a human rights advocate, and I'm running for Los Angeles City Attorney.
Tell my audience what a city attorney is and does.
The city attorney in Los Angeles is a prosecutor and someone who sues and defends lawsuits. So they have a pretty powerful position in the city in the sense that they also advise the mayor, the city council, all of the departments and commissions, as well as the Port of Los Angeles, the Department of Water and Power, and the airports on the law. And that can range from like employment law to issues with climate change to criminal justice. They also defend the LAPD, and they also defend the city from lawsuits. So that means that they handle settlements. And the most important, I think, role as well is they handle all the prosecution of every single misdemeanor in the city of Los Angeles. The vast majority of arrests that LAPD do are actually misdemeanors. And so they have a tremendous impact on the lives of Angelenos at every level. And they have 5 offices just for prosecuting misdemeanors in the city of LA.
We were speaking about this another time, and what would it mean to have someone who is very progressive in that office?
I think that the city attorney's office is like a kind of like a sleeper position in the sense that it has so much vast potential to change our city for the good. And the bonus is that the city attorney is an independent position. So it's kind of like the mayor in the sense that that position decides what kind of policies they want to implement, like in terms of criminal justice reform, how they want to advise the city council. And they're not trying to, like city council, you have to work with, to pass a motion, you have to get other people to pass it with you. But the city attorney can create their own policies and positions. And so, if we actually had someone progressive, we could see vast amounts of change. Someone not just progressive, but experienced and actually has solid platforms and ideas. And I think that's what's important because you can go into this office and if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to have a structure to really implement change because this is a very big office with so many different moving parts, right? Like I think that the most important thing is well, there's a few things. Like one obviously is the criminal justice reform aspect. Like we just had, Gascon, we lost him to a right-wing Republican that's re-implemented the death penalty. That's a district attorney and that's Nathan Hochman. And so having someone to counter that at the city level is very powerful. So that, position would be allowed to not criminalize poverty, right? Like we should be focusing all our resources on crimes of violence, crimes that are actually affecting people's lives and holding people accountable who, are destroying our city. But we shouldn't be criminalizing things that have our result of, just being poor. And because, misdemeanors, though they're not felonies, they can also push people into homelessness. They can push people to be not eligible for housing assistance and student loans, things like that, or jobs. So they can be very impactful. The other thing that the city attorney can do, besides criminal justice reform, in terms of changing, the prosecution power, is how we advise all of our departments. And if we have someone who is actually, knowledgeable, like for instance, climate change, we don't have. And have we heard a single thing about climate change from our city? Like, do we
No,
even? Like, have we heard a single, like, action that they're doing?
no, it's a response. It's reactionary. It's the Palisades fire. It's all, it's not proactive, it's reactive.
Yeah, and even then when they react, it's often in terms of the benefits of the wealthy and not in terms of benefits for everyone.
Mhm.
And I think that there's so many things on the basic local level regarding climate change we can address at the city level. And it's linked to like transportation, for instance, right? Like if we had more bus lanes and bike lanes, we would have better air quality because we wouldn't be relying on cars. Our city attorney, we already passed a law saying we have to, build bus lanes and bike lanes when we repave streets in high injury network areas. And right now, the city is trying to avoid implementing that law. The city attorney and also Metro is trying to avoid applying that law. But the city attorney can go and like, no, you have to do this. You're
Mhm.
required to do this. So it's a very powerful position in the sense that like not only implementing that law, but we are sued because people are getting injured on our streets, right? So the city attorney can go in these, settlements and advise these departments that you need to fix this area of the road. Like we don't have any restricted left turn lights. So pedestrians are gambling on their lives when they're walking across the street while someone is waiting to make a left turn light. And actually on the neighbor council I've already tried to do this, fixing our streets, making them safer. There's just so much we can do on the advisal level. And then the third thing is telling everybody what to do obviously is the second thing, and that's who doesn't love wanting to be in that position of telling the mayor what to do and telling the mayor you need a climate change policy, telling the city council you need to stop advocating for policies that are increasing vehicles and are blocking bus and bike lanes or whatever. How amazing, we would all love to be in that position. And that's possible, as a progressive, and we can have a champion in that position doing that for us. And then the third thing is the defending lawsuits, right? That's also an opportunity to push the city into a better direction. So many of our lawsuits come from the police, right? And I hear so many times people saying, well, we need to reduce liabilities. We need to reduce liabilities. What does that even mean, right? Like when we say that liabilities, we're talking about settlements, right? Like somebody has sued the city because something happened, and then the city has settled instead of going to trial, or even if they go to trial, there's an award, and the city has to pay that person who sued the city. But no one is talking about the fact, why did they even sue the city in the first place? The city screwed up, right? Some officer or somebody in the police, beat someone up or killed somebody, or like a couple of years ago, somebody in the SWAT team reported that there was a gang culture in the SWAT unit. They were acting with impunity, hurting people, harming people, going after people.
Yeah.
And when he reported it in the police, instead of doing something about it, they made his life miserable.
Of course.
So he ended up, I think getting fired, and he sued. And then there's another person who was just visiting LA from DC, visiting family. He was tased to death by the LAPD, who pulled him over for a hit and run investigation.
Okay.
And he was held down by 5 different officers. This was 2023. His family's suing the city for $50 million. As someone who might be thinking, oh, we need to reduce settlements and whatnot, as an activist, they should be suing the city. The city messed up. They killed somebody, or they're just, they're allowing corruption. It's not about, to me, it's not about reducing liabilities. How do we fix the city? How do we fix these problems that are causing people to sue? Because if you don't have a reason to sue, if the city's not messing up, why would they sue in the first place, right? Like, so the issue is really who's going to be holding police accountable to enforce reforms, so that way they address these issues. Who's going to be telling the the streets LA that they need to fix these streets, so the next cyclist is not going to get thrown off their bike and injure their leg or whatever, or become disabled. And so that's really the most important thing, and a way for us to create changes through these lawsuits. You can actually put in what's called injunctions, and it's basically telling the city or the department that they have to change things in their policies. So there's these 3 areas are immensely powerful, right? Like you can as a prosecutor, you have so much control over someone's life just by filing a case. So having a progressive in there controlling what cases we file or not can change someone's life. Then by advising these people, advising the mayor, advising the city council what they should be doing, we act as a spokesperson for the community of what we want to see, what changes we want to see, and telling them what to do. And then the third part, the lawsuits, we act as a negotiator between like the injured party and the department of like how we can really change and prevent this from happening again. So the city attorney has so much potential and power if we get the right person in that seat. That's the key right there.
What's wild is how much I've learned about how the mayor doesn't really have that much power. Like these positions that are forward facing don't have as much power as like random like government officials in sort of these positions we never think about. You worked for the city attorney, right? Like, what is your background?
Yeah, thank you for asking me that. And like, I will definitely want to get to the issues with the limitations on the mayor, but yeah, so I've been an activist for a really long time. I mean, I started being an activist when I was 17, and I was very much on the groundwork politics wise, like community organizing, union organizing, working as a human rights advocate with migrants' rights organizations in DC, in the UN, abroad. And then I became a lawyer and I got involved in immigrant rights work. And then I ended up working at the city attorney's office after I clerked at the immigration courts of the Department of Justice. And they have a special trial program where you can get trial experience and work on cases. And that's where I first was exposed to the office, where I, received some training on trial work, and then they just kind of threw us in. And literally, we would sit in the hallways of the court, and they would text us, and they would say, "You have 15 minutes to report to this trial." Hand us, and then here's a case file, and it was pretty wild and not something that I think should ever be done again, because you don't want to put people's lives in like hands of some people who don't really know much about the case. But it reflects the fact of like we need someone that understands, this system and not just, play thinks of it as like a playground
Uh-huh.
and or training area for people. But it gave me a good glimpse of understanding the different areas of the office, the fact that there's a general counsel that writes the laws that the city has, the ordinances, and I got to work on one of them that was like in response to one of the Trump threats, many threats that he made, against cities. It helps advise on, like, we had an immigration pro bono program that was defunded recently, but I helped advise on that at the time. And then again, I was working on like criminal misdemeanor cases, like domestic violence cases, DUI cases, prosecuting those. And I got to know the office very well working in these different divisions. We also had a neighborhood prosecutor program, which was good because on the ground they were involved in like direct relations with community members with issues. And a lot of this stuff was resolved without, courts. It was just mediation or speaking through things, which is what we want to see happen. I also was on the neighborhood council in Los Feliz. So I got to see, a different side of things. And I think there's something very different about Los Angeles compared to other places. And I think this is an issue of the United States, in a lot of places where local cities have a lot of power to control your life. Even also often I think more than federal, because they can control like where an apartment building is built.
Uh-huh.
They can control where your parks are built, whether or not you have parks, right? Whether or not you have buses or bike lanes. The Trump has nothing to do with that. I mean, he might
Right.
help give money for that, but he can't control those things. And I think people don't know how much control local government is. But that's really more so your city council member. And that's what's frustrating, and I think, like, goes to your point, and that's why we also have a charter reform commission, and is a great way to get involved in that, is our mayor can't veto anything the city council member does. So in a way, they're like little kings, right, or queens of their fiefdom, and that's why you'll see the Sunset Bike Lane, and you're getting close to downtown, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's because Gil Cedillo didn't want it in his district. And
Right.
that's it, right? Like, just, like, one dude controlling all our lives just because
Uh-huh.
of whatever fancies he has. And that's a problem also with politics, right? Like, people are appeasing their special interests so much that you rarely see real change, with our two-party corporate, capitalist system. The mayor does have a lot of power in the sense that she proposes the budget,
Uh-huh.
which, like, once you get to city council level, it's kind of like, I wanna say a shit show, but, like, it's just kinda like they
It's a shit show.
yeah, and you rarely see much change because by then it's like how much, you wanna rewrite it, and take out all the funding or like put back all the funding for, housing and unarmed crisis response and like job development, youth development. That's where you want to see the money flowing. You don't want to see it in just policing, which is now at like astronomical numbers. Like half of our budget is going to that now, which I haven't seen in years, right? And it mirrors the federal budget, which is half of it's going to military.
Right.
And it's wild because it's like we complain about Trump, but then like what's happening at home?
Girl,
Like
don't even get me fucking started on Karen Bass and all of that. Because I'm speaking to you on October 17th. Tomorrow is October 18th, which is No Kings 2.0.
Mm.
And the amount of I can't even get into it. The amount of insanity regarding the LAPD and No Kings tomorrow. Like
Oh, let's get
they
into it.
they put out a thing that is like, hey, you know how you said we can't attack journalists? Well, we want to actually put a pause on that, and we want to actually for tomorrow be able to attack journalists. Is that okay? And the city was like, sure. Like that's why I have such a disdain for the mayor and city council, because they put on one face and then they don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, listen, you don't have to tell me. I didn't even know about the position of city attorney. And then when I started going to city council and seeing city attorney stuff happening, I was like, oh man, this position is my nemesis. So like, I don't even know how to explain that this whole thing that happened post 2020, which was like, just get involved locally, is like only so doable.
Let's touch on a few things. Like first, the police, let's call it No King's Day, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be frank. I'm not surprised, to be honest.
Yeah.
We have to look at the history, right? Like, let's go back to like May Day about 20 years
Uh-huh.
ago in how that actually I almost there at that protest.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was late and then the officer was like screaming at me to leave and I couldn't even enter in the area. And I was just
Whoa.
like, dude, I'm just walking. Like, chill out.
Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so May Day, I forgot what park it was. It was a very peaceful protest. And just out of nowhere, the police just started firing foam bullets and, other projectiles at the crowd. And this was recorded on video that they started physically attacking journalists and just pulling. There was a female journalist that just like pulled on the ground and assaulted her. And this was a very famous case because it was all caught on video of
Mm-hmm.
just people just like literally just standing there and just all of a sudden they just started being very aggressive and violent towards the crowd. And there's all these questions right after, like what were the orders that were given? Like how did this even happen? It also resulted in a massive lawsuit and a massive settlement in like tens of millions of dollars as a result of these actions. And the LAPD was also under a consent decree. I think it ended in 2000 before this happened, I think, because again their actions against journalists and other activity. So this has been this is like a long ongoing issue. And I think the big problem is obviously, we have Trump, we have ICE that are acting with complete impunity, but then we also have leadership, like you said, that are not doing anything. That
Right.
like
They say they are, but they're not.
yeah, I don't even know if they say they are. I feel like they're just like I feel like they say like, "Oh yeah, this is bad." That's bad.
Yeah, full stop. Yeah, I know.
But like I mean there was this, a city council member that was literally interviewed about this issue. Well, they were interviewed by the fact that LAPD was handing over data to ICE.
Yep.
And that's another issue that city council can do something about. They still haven't done.
Right.
They could at a minimum do like a investigation or report or something. And her response was, "I'm not prepared for this. I didn't get elected or didn't run for this type of stuff. I just thought I was going to fix potholes."
Is
Which
that
is
is that your nieces?
no. I don't.
Oh, you can't say who it is? Okay,
mean,
okay.
She's a neighbor of Eunice's. She's a newer council member,
All
but
right, I'm going to look it up. It'll go in the show notes.
that's what really pisses me off is even like other, candidates or current people in office, their lack of preparedness and experience, and on top of like not even trying to improve that once they get in office. Like I will sit in on meetings and there'll be a council member that hasn't even read the bill that's being discussed.
Yep.
And like asking, and like to me I would be so embarrassed. But like it's like you're elected. That's your job. Like you still haven't even read the bill and all you're doing is asking questions about what's in the bill. Like
But this is the thing, Ida, is that like okay, I say, "Oh, if I was on city council, I would do X, Y, and Z." And these people run and they make promises. What happens in between them being idealistic and making promises and then them not even reading the bill?
I think a few things, and I think a lot of it has to do with how terrible our quote unquote democracy system is, and the state is that it's totally controlled by money.
Mhm.
And the fact that like the people you actually see on the ballot are actually reflective of funders and other people in like parties that have been around for a long time. And so the election process is not something that's open to everybody really in like practice, I would say, right? I've had people who are part of progressive campaigns that tell me I don't even talk to anybody unless you already have $60,000 fundraised. And so yeah.
I'm blinking.
And it's like, who's gonna have this much money, right? Think about it. Who's gonna
Mhm.
know the people that have this much money? Either people who already are establishment Democrats or linked to establishment Democrats, or people who have rich friends. And so
Mhm.
there's already like the filtering of people in that level. Then you have the marketing that comes with politics. So you're going to be marketed a lot of great catchy words. Yeah, I want to take down the system, like I want to fight for working class people. I
Mhm.
want to do this, I want to do that. But then ask them, "Wait, how are you going to do that though?"
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
they're going to give you a really really high level general response that
Mhm.
has no impact whatsoever. And
Mhm.
I think that's the disconnect is we don't have any where are the forums and debates, right? There's like basically no opportunity right now for us to hold these people accountable. And even if there are opportunities, usually they're going to only include the candidates with the most money.
Life has unexpected twists, and pregnancy is one of them. People in all states are getting abortion pills in advance to have at home in case of future need. Visit PlanCpills.org to learn more. That's PlanCpills.org.
Well, it's interesting because I think even if I go to because I've had the access to candidates because of my social media following that other people perhaps haven't. And even when they do get into these granular ideas of how to make progressive change, and it is good and interesting, it just goes to the wayside. It just like all of a sudden, like, certain city council members were buddy buddy while they're running and I'm giving them all these ideas. And then now they don't even like answer my emails or like look up when I'm at city council. So like, I'm mostly like, what were they bad the whole time? And I'm fooled or like, what is going on?
That also goes to the fact that we're electing people who are picked by special interests and don't have the background of like standing up for values. Their background is
Mm,
working with like, these organizations. And I think so when we elect people, they're not there necessarily to stand up for your rights, and that's not what they're equipped with. They're equipped with like how do I satisfy my special interests so they keep
mm,
me in office. And that's
mm,
when we see the same patterns of, people who just kind of fall in line and want to be part of the Democratic clique or whatever.
mm-hmm,
If we elected people who were actually like, you know what? I'm going to stick to my values And that's what I've always done. And I'm always going to stand up to these powerful people and look at like all my, like in my entire background, for better or worse, I've always stood up for my values. And my, I seem for better or worse in the sense that like sometimes there's consequences where like you don't get reelected because you stand up for Palestinians, or you get in trouble, for speaking up about race issues, but that's important in your life. It's like you want to be able to sleep at night. I'm not going to take a position, simply in order to, satisfy someone who might be more powerful than me or something. Because what's important is how am I improving the lives of people? Not necessarily is this person going to give me money the next election cycle or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we have that disconnect is we don't have those people in office. We have the people who are like working with organizations, and we need to elect more people who are willing to continue the fight, that have been doing this. Like even before getting into law school, like I was organizing food service workers on my college campus.
Yeah, you had told me about working on Free Palestine stuff 15 years ago.
Oh, longer than that, like 20 years ago. But like, yeah. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was in my undergrad, we were organizing like, I mean, first was like anti-Iraq war, anti-Muslim surveillance, back in early 2000s, anti-deportation of Muslims by Bush and Guantanamo, and as well, like on our campus, we'd had lots of, support on demonstrations for Palestine as well as against the Iraq War. I debated the college Republicans on the Iraq War, I remember, and that was interesting. And we won, of course, but like it's just
Oh,
such
those college Republicans.
such
What a
a
type.
yeah, what a weird thing to even like have to debate, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, what was amazing is my undergrad was such a pro-Palestine campus. We actually created um a replica of the wall in Palestine, and we put it on our like we called it Ring Road, and there'd be a little door in the middle. You have to pass through it, so you would get kind of that feeling of being separated and like seeing this wall, and it was just so amazing to be on a campus that was like that.
Yeah.
What was interesting is the first year that was up, somebody had burned it at night, and so then they required the Muslim Student Union to take it down every night after that. And
Oh my
yeah,
God.
but one day they were driving with a tractor trailer and they saw this car following them, and it was all blacked out, and then my friend got out, of the car and was, like, trying to see who it was, and the car all of a sudden, like, sped off and almost hit him, and he, got called into the police office the next day, and he said and they told him that was actually the FBI. They have an office on our campus, and they've been monitoring the Muslim Student Union. And this was like early 2000s under Bush. So it was a very scary time to be an activist. I mean, I was with the Students for Peace and Justice and we were organized, but we were still very concerned because I had a friend who had, was visited by the Secret Service at his mosque. Like this was a
Yeah.
real time where people were literally being disappeared, and the FBI, was infiltrating religious spaces, monitoring Muslims, and so when what's happening now with Trump, and people are like, "I'm not prepared," and blah blah blah. It's like, well, this is not new. Like
Right.
we've been here before. We need to go
Mhm.
back to those times. What did we learn from that time?
Mhm.
Like how can we apply that to now? And at the same time, can we actually stop this for once? Because Obama didn't do anything.
I
He-
know. I know. I
Yeah, I
know.
feel like I'm gone on this rabbit hole of all this stuff now,
No,
though.
no, no. I mean, this leads to my next question, which is you're running as an independent and also as a socialist. And we're in the, leading up era where the Democrats are just like not even they're refusing to endorse Mondani, and like it's just crazy. So can you talk a bit about like what that means? Because I was surprised also when you're talking about running as an independent, how you're kind of searching for these endorsements, and it's like a little bit difficult.
Yeah. I think LA politics is really unique in the sense that it's very cliquey. It's very much like you got to be in with the in group. And like being someone who's an activist, I've always, criticized the powerful, criticized, politicians and demanded more from them. So it's hard for me to compromise that in order to just, you know, reach a goal. What I don't want to compromise my values. Basically, my goal is always to center human rights. And I think Mamdani really is inspiring. And not just that he's running like as a democratic socialist, he's running, as a Democrat. And I think at the mayor level, it's hard to be independent. But what inspires me more is that he is running with his identity as a Muslim Shia at the forefront, and or a Shia Muslim. And that's my background. And I heard him say this, some beautiful speeches about his faith. And, like, I didn't grow up religious, but I still heard all the anti-Muslim rhetoric, anti-Iran rhetoric, living in this country, and it's always scary running as someone from that background because you don't know what kind of hate, you're gonna be targeted with, and for him to put everything at the forefront was very empowering to me. At the same time, I think running as an independent is more true to my values as someone who, as a human rights centered person. I think, we've been robbed of democracy. It's not that it's just like, we're moving to the right because of Trump. We've have a history of other political parties, socialists and whatnot, literally being deported, being executed, being jailed, during the Red Scare and whatnot. Um, that we don't even have the opportunity to vote for those people. Like other countries like Denmark and Belgium and Netherlands and Spain have those parties, and and everybody envies them. Oh, look, they have all this great public transportation. Look at their healthcare system. And it's like, well, why do you think they have that? Like it's not because they're focused on capitalism. They're focused on making sure that everyone is taken care of. And that's so important because I feel like the Democratic Party is still the capitalist party, and it's great that Mamdani's breaking through it with these ideas, but I still think it's really hard, and I think that we should be focusing on third parties because we need to have. It's not about salvaging the Democratic Party, because and I hate when people say like, we need to vote for the lesser of two evils, or like they're not that bad. And it's like, don't you want to be passionately, in support of something? Like, why are you making excuse? It's like if someone is hurting someone else, you're not gonna make excuses. You're gonna be like, that person needs to be held accountable, right, for their
Yeah.
harm that they created. Like, why are you guys making excuses for this group? We should, like when people join political parties in other countries, they're like, oh, I totally support this group because I believe in its values. You know, the fact that the Democratic Party is just like, I'm sure they have some good social platforms, but seriously, like they've been in power how many times they still didn't legalize abortion?
I
I'm
know.
that
know.
part, right? Like
I
I
know.
I just feel like we need more parties, and we need and right now the Republicans are just, they're just fascists, right? Like we don't even know what they are anymore. And the Democrats have gone after the Republican voters, so
I
they're to the
know.
right. So it's like, why are we still like going after breadcrumbs? Let's try to create something better. And but it's hard to be the outsider, the underdog, the person who's like dedicated her entire life to this, but like hasn't stepped foot into a democratic, club meeting before. And
Right.
I think that's really hard to do. But at the same time, like I would rather vote for someone that has the experience and the knowledge and isn't aligned, isn't like beholden to a group that's going to water down my platform or like ask me to like tone it down, like in
Mhm.
terms of like, oh, we don't really want to do, not criminalizing poverty because like there's people who want to be tough on crime. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, that's not really like who I am though. Or
Mhm.
like people were like, I don't want to talk about Palestine, it's gonna ruffle feathers, you should really tone that down because I think Mamdani has shown like you can talk about that. And this is a time to be harnessing this sort of like disdain for Democrats for not delivering, and this is literally from a headline recently
Mhm.
and a study, and also the push to, acknowledge what's going on in Palestine because, Palestine's been around for, the issue with, colonization in Palestine has been around for decades, but this type of, attention and favorability of understanding the issue in a better light has not been around, and we need to harness this energy and go as hard as we can to change the system. Let's stop
Mhm.
settling for people who, like, oh well. Somebody actually, the same guy who told me about $60,000, that he's like, I was like, why are you guys supporting, this candidate that doesn't have, the experience or the platform? And they're like, well, we just want somebody in office that's going to listen to us.
That's what I was about to say, Ida, is that they don't want a thorn in their side. They don't want people who ask questions. They don't want people who are going to be like independent and be causing any disturbances or asking any questions they don't want to answer. Like, they don't want that person like in office. I also think that, it's interesting. It's so backwards to say, oh, we're going to get these donors and then we're going to do what the donors want. Because I think if you are someone who has stuck to your guns in a lot of ways and have that history of sticking to your guns, then the donors will come to you because and this is maybe naive, but it's like, okay, so then there'll be a lot of movement around that person, and then hopefully the donors then go because they're like, oh, this is a winning ticket. I don't know. That's very idealistic of me. That could have happened with Bernie and it sort of didn't. So I don't know.
That's the idealism that I came into this race with. Same exact. I'm like, oh my god, I have all this experience, and like I know exactly what I want to do because of that, and like, um, but it's odd because that kind of deflects people because they actually want someone that they can, have a general,
Mold.
yeah, and have like a
Mhm.
general empty platform that will just do what they kind of are following, and also they don't want competition. So like I feel like I'm kind of, I'm in this space where it's like I'm striving to be heard because I'm not getting as much of the same opportunities or the same platform, and like and it's very difficult because even like on social media, on Instagram, I feel like I'm being like shadow banned because of the Palestine activism.
Mhm.
TikTok is I've gotten way more interaction, but then now we have somebody who's a super anti-Palestinian billionaire who's getting TikTok handed to him.
Right.
So I don't know the future of that. And, and most of our media is controlled, by corporations. And so it's really hard to get your name out for even people to know your message, I think, to get there. But I do think whenever I do meet people, I mean, like, the fact that, like, you saw, my socials, and then whenever I speak to people at events, they're like, "Wow, I really wanna help." And
Yeah.
I totally believe in what you're saying, but it's like getting there is difficult. But we're getting there, like, I love talking to people, and I love canvassing, actually. That's, like, oddly one of my favorite things to do because like, you're on the ground and, like,
Mhm.
this is what matters, is speaking to just people, your neighbors, and knowing what's concerning them. Like, when I ran for neighbor council, I canvassed my entire district. I knocked on every single door, and I learned about how people are like there was a delivery driver who was concerned about safety because he would use his bike to deliver,
Mhm.
and like seeing all the like Black Lives Matter signs, this was like I was canvassing during COVID, which was crazy, and with my N95 mask and stuff. But it's so important because we're missing that community aspect right now more than ever. And we are living in a city that is constantly in a country that constantly reinforces car culture that further isolates us and
Mhm.
actually reduces democracy because we don't have the plazas you see in Mexico City where people can flood in, or the UK, or London. People can flood in and like be together in like protest. We
Mhm.
have we have City Hall and downtown where no one's at on the weekend, and it's just like and there's no plaza really, and then we are separated by all these freeways that were purposely built in communities of color to destroy and their networks.
Mhm.
So we're fighting against not just like the money, but this kind of machine that is designed to support capitalists and capitalist ideology. And but the way we counter that is just on the ground, like connecting with people, going to what I'm doing, like almost all the meetings I can go to, posting as much as I can on socials in spite of the shadow banning.
No, I found you because you were commenting on so many things, like all these, groups that I follow, and I would just see you commenting on every single one, and I was like, "Who is this?" And then I was like, "Oh, city attorney 2026, like, 'cause the election is June 2nd." And I was like, "Oh, okay, city attorney, interesting. I don't even know what that is." And that's how I messaged you because there's so many. I see so many little things popping up now, like that girl Sydney for America, who's like a Gen Z, but she's gonna run for president. She's like already campaigning. No joke. Like she's like,
Wow.
yeah, she like is already like, my goal is to run for president. Here's my stuff. I think is her name is Sydney for America, and I'm like seeing more and more of that. People that are coming, like you said, from you know not backed already by I don't know, by, interests or by the 2 parties.
I think that is a big power of social media, and yeah, it's amazing how it connects us. And I do have a lot of opinions, so I do put comments. I have to be careful though now that I'm running for office. But I mean, there's just so much out there, I guess. But at the same time, I guess like it's also driving division in a way because people are we're too stuck on it too. We also want to be out of it and like be on the ground with community, which is how I started as an activist. Is like we would wheat paste our protest flyers,
Yes.
yeah, and then we would yeah, and at the most there was like maybe emails and websites like listservs you'd be a part of,
Mhm.
um but it was also in a way protecting us, right? Because we're not putting all the information out there on socials. And we're in a weird state where corporations are purposely putting things out there. So we put all our information out there. Even dating apps are now being connected to data gathering, which is like wild. And so I would like to see us commune more, in person on the ground. And like that's something I want to do with my campaign is have us come together. And like the mutual aid in LA has been so inspiring, right? Like we keep us safe, right? Like we are the ones that are standing in to protect us because our government is not doing that.
Right.
Because what did our city just do in the face of ice raids, in the face of, climate collapse? They passed a motion to spend more than $2 billion to expand the convention center. Like
Girl,
that.
again, like, I can't even talk about the Olympics. The No Olympics, I think we did an episode about No Olympics like 4 years ago or something on this show because I'm on Karen Bass's press, like, I get her
Mm.
press releases. The one today was like 1,000 days out from the games, and here's everything that we're doing for the Olympics, and I was like, "I'm gonna punch my computer." It's so much money. It's so like this idea of like, we're going to protect, like when you said we keep us safe, right? It's like,
Mm.
we're going to protect the city of LA and make it beautiful for the Olympics. And I'm like, my friends are the ones who are down
Mhm.
feeding people. My friend, like, there's that whole thing about building a fence around MacArthur Park that's happening now, where it's like they want to, I guess, close it off at night. And it's like, oh my God, everything's going to become like closed and privatized. I even hate like when it's like you have to put in a code to use the restroom downtown. I'm like, fuck you. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, God, I can talk forever about the fact that like our cities are designed for segregation and inequality, and LA is such a good example of that because all of like this city was sold as a real estate, like a gated community, essentially, like an open gated community, and it stole water from indigenous communities in the Central Valley, and it still is stealing water from land there. And
that's
land,
a whole other thing.
yeah.
The amount to which myself and my friend Katie have become obsessed with water rights, like we don't have time.
Yeah, that's another thing, and on the top of that, like, yeah, I was there actually at the Parks Commission, commenting against that fence, and what's also frustrating is the Parks Commission moves its location of its meetings every time, and on top of that, they don't allow written or call-in comment, so it's
I
like
saw that.
yeah, it's very difficult, so, like, they could be in Wilmington talking about something impacting Hollywood, but, like, it's just there is a series of things cities have done to remove the dignity of people in LA. Like, on top of the gate they wanna build around MacArthur Park, the fact that they're making us swipe when we exit out of the metro, when metros are not calculated by distance. Again, they're treating us all like suspected criminals, essentially, like, removing dignity just in that. The fact that, like, they sold us that this is gonna be a car-free Olympics, and they're not doing anything to actually push that. The fact that they're trying to push a gondola versus actually giving us, like, bus rapid transit or a light rail for the same amount of money that would actually provide real public transit for everybody, it's just again, like, who are these people? Like, they're not they're not they're obviously, like, not for the people, right? They're for some small group of, like, people living in some fantasy land of gondolas and,
I was
like,
going to say the gondola lobby, the absolute gondola lobby. One guy owns a bunch of gondolas. He's like, please, I need to offload these.
I when you said that, it just reminded me that pillow guy that was supporting Trump for some reason, and, like, the what happened to him? I don't
Jesus. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you and help you, and what's the most like useful stuff?
Yeah, okay, so, you can follow me on Ida for LA on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. That's AIDA, the number 4 LA. And then you can also go to my website at ida4la.com, spelled AIDA, the number 4la.com, or just the word 4, and, subscribe to my newsletter. You can donate there, or even at the link in my bio on Instagram. And, I'm gonna have some fundraisers coming up. There's one November 7th at Esquina Bicycle Shop, which will be a DJ and art show. I'm gonna put up a
Ooh.
flyer soon. I'm also working on a drag show, coming up.
Yes,
Yeah.
with maybe.
No, well, with one of maybe's friends, like the disabled,
Yes.
drag troupe. I
Oh,
forgot. Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And,
Shout out to maybe a girl.
yeah, also
Also,
shout out to
also,
yeah.
also running.
Yeah, also we're, like, allies, and, also I'm gonna set up, like, a coffee with Ida, and I'm gonna post that soon. I'm probably gonna start off with Dinosaur Coffee, which is my neighborhood coffee shop.
Yes.
A shout out to all the amazing coffee shops and restaurants we have in LA. That's, like we're, like, the best, food place, I think, in the country, and again, like, if you can donate, $5 a cup price of a cup of coffee or something, that will help me get more endorsements, some airtime, and, it is a money run campaign, but just think about the fact that, like, you're donating for your values, and I think that's what we need right now more than ever because we're losing that in our elections in our country, and people have been sold off through APAC and
Mhm.
affiliates, and we're just not focused on real change, and we're so far from creating a community for the people. And so if you can donate anything you can, that would really help my campaign And please come out to my fundraisers, and I would love to meet you. And also send me a note if you're willing to like volunteer. And like I'm definitely going to be at the next Ciclavia, handing out flyers or whatnot.
Think about this. You put Ida in city attorney, and it's so annoying for the people we don't like. And that's really sort of what we're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Someone who has a history of yelling at politicians, has a history of getting angry about the injustice in the world, and as an attorney as well, going against people like Chevron, having put in a ceasefire resolution, helping standing up for immigrants in asylum cases. That's what we want to see. And I want to be that person to be yelling at people in City Hall and holding people accountable, because that's what I want to do. I want to make sure that everybody's doing their job right. And we have an ethical city attorney that is holding also the other politicians to the high grade of ethics. So, please volunteer, donate, and let's start building a new, better city with our tax dollars, and stop giving out handouts to billionaires.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast, is a production of Noted Bisexual, produced by Melisa D. Monts and Diamond MPrint Productions, edited by Diane Kang, post-production sound by Coco Lorenz, and music by Zach Sherwin as sung by Sam Barbera. Thank you, love you, bye.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Aida Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences, and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity, and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently, too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.